Hi,
Hey, Jenny.
Addie.
How's it
I
going?
am Jenny Shaneyfelt, and this is my sister Addie, Jane, Lynn, and we are sisters who are also brokers and also real estate agents and also owners of our own real estate company. And we get together frequently and talk about real estate, and we just thought it would be good to share the conversations we have with each other and start making YouTube videos. So if you like this, please subscribe on our YouTube channel. It will be on mine and on Addie Jane's. Addie will upload it to hers too. But I am from Huntsville, and I am the owner and qualifying broker for Red Bridge Real Estate. And Addie, you introduced.
Yeah, and my husband and I are co-owners of King Tide Real Estate, a independent brokerage in Charleston, South Carolina. And I am the broker in charge, is what we call it. Same position, just different names in different states.
Mhm. And I just
Today,
drink my
okay, today we were going to talk about common misconceptions in real estate, myths, if you will, about what sometimes we hear clients and customers say, or other agents say, or other people who are on the outside just looking at the real estate industry. I want to go with this one first. It's good that real estate is a get rich quick scheme.
I think that not all realtors are equal in that some of the realtors out there are believers that it is a get rich quick scheme. Um, that that's why they got their real estate license because they thought this would be a really easy side gig to get some extra money. And in reality, that's not the case.
Right, right. It's hard work. And if you're not, a lot of people think side gig, it's fine. But honestly, if you don't go all in and go full time, it is really tough to be successful in real estate. And it takes a lot of back at the house. For every phone call your realtor calls to you, she is or he has made 10 to 20 phone calls to make that action happen. And so a lot of people think it's just an easy gig. And you know what? I love my job. I'm not complaining about it. But I think the misconception is that it's just you're going to get rich quick and you don't work hard and whatever. But that's not true.
Hmm. Yeah, because like me, I'm constantly in classes trying to get better and trying to be involved with everything real estate just so I can be knowledgeable and be the most knowledgeable realtor that I can be for my agents.
Mhm.
And I think that in itself is a lot of work. I've had to pass some of it up because I mean, I've had to walk out of classes so I could go negotiate um,
Right.
stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's not. And there are also realtors out there who think that it's a what is the word like dog eat dog world, and that's
Oh, right.
yeah, and that's the way that they present their business because they think that honestly, there's some people that even consumers have the concept that realtors are out there, or like a used car salesman has a reputation. Not all used car salesmen are bad, but some have the reputation of just sell, 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 and that's the only thing that matters. And
Yeah.
in reality, I don't think any good realtor feels that way. There's
Hmm.
an importance to knowing the balance of working for your client and making sure that there is a win-win, that
Right.
buyer is happy with everything. And you need to make sure that the other side, whether you're the listing agent or the buyer's agent, you need to make sure that the other side is happy too, because otherwise they're not going to say yes to your.
And yeah, in order to make that negotiation work, it's smart negotiations. It is. Yeah.
Right. You've got to be sweet and kind, and you can
Yeah.
do a lot more flies with honey than you can vinegar. And I mean, I've had to learn that the hard way. I mean, I think I had that misconception at one time in my career that that you had to be
Be
brutal
tough. Yeah.
to make sure that you advocate for your client. And in some ways you do. And I mean, there's still cases in which where I'm like, no, that's not right. We're not doing that.
Mhm. Mhm. But there's a way to discuss it and not meet in the middle. And there's a book out there called Don't Meet in the Middle, and it's a negotiation book. But anyways, one of my first years of real estate, Jenny, I called the listing agent, and I'm like talking about negotiations, different specs of the house and stuff. And I don't know what was going on with him, but he flat out cussed me out. He was one of those, and there's a lot of agents who will throw around some cuss words, with each other in kind of a camaraderie way. And I'm not one of those, so I don't even cuss. And well, sometimes I cuss, but okay. And we're getting way down this rabbit hole. But he just started cussing me out. And I think he was just trying to get an upper hand. I don't know, but it was pretty brutal and awful. So that's not the best way to handle a negotiation. And that's one of those myths out there.
Hey, sorry, one second.
Okay.
Sorry, I got this new puppy. And he's potty training and he likes to use my office.
Oh no.
Oh no, that's not what we're going to do.
Oh no.
So I made sure he got out of my office real quick.
Yeah.
He left the door open. But yeah,
Well,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
just to spin off the get rich quick thing, we were talking about the paycheck breakdown for realtors. So I think a lot of people think that realtors are just on a salary, their marketing is paid for by their big company, and they walk away from the closing table with that whole check, which is just not true.
And I know a lot
had
who will call me that don't know me. They want me to come show them the house, and then they go to the next agent to show them the next house, or they go to the next agent to, and I'm not saying that I'm mad about it, because I mean that's part of the job. We just show the house, but they think that I got paid for that. So when
right.
you just call an agent and you have them show the house, they don't get paid if you just move on to the next agent. You just use their services for free. You've taken them away from their family and their time and their life, because we don't have a 9 to 5 job. It's not like we can block off and say, this is work time and this is family time. So most of the time we are leaving our family in order to go work or show a house. And, but we're doing that because that's our job and we love our job. But people don't realize that when you ask someone to show a house and you don't, you use them as your realtor. And I'm not saying, if you go with someone and to show a house and they're not a good fit for you and you move on to the next agent, that's different. But people who just get in their head that, oh, they got paid for that and they just move on to the next agent, like agents get paid. But that's not words. We work off commission.
Right.
It's always negotiable. But we work off commission, and that commission is we don't get paid unless the house sells, unless we sell you a house. So.
Yeah. And not only that, I mean, I had one client say, we closed on their house and she said, so are y'all going to go buy a boat now? And I was like, well, no. Let me tell you where my checks go. Well, okay. First of all, when the check is cleared at the closing table, it has to be written to the brokerage company, and it can't just be written out to a real estate agent. So then it goes to the brokerage, and then the brokerage has a negotiable commission split with their agents, and then it's split again. But also, I mean, and then that agent, if it was a listing, they're paying for the marketing, they're paying for the staging, they're paying for the gas. If it's a buyer, they're paying for the gas in the car, they're paying for maintenance on that, they're paying for every time they answer the phone, they're paying for the leads sometimes. And that check just gets split up so much. And what's left over, I write my check for my bills. Okay. And I think people think realtors are out just making gangbuster and they're going to go buy another boat, but it's not true. It's our livelihood. So I think that's missed on the outside looking in.
Yeah. And when you add up whenever I tell somebody how much money it is to actually get your business started as a realtor, they're always, okay, never mind, moving right along, because they don't realize how much money it takes. Like, you got to save up money for a while in order to be able to get started, because there's so much money you got to put into it. Your sign, your business cards, your lockbox, your apps that you put into your phone, the memberships to all the real estate agencies, and
your insurance.
Yes, your errors and emissions insurance. It's just expensive.
It goes on and on and on. It doesn't stop there. I just can't think of anything right this second, but it does. It really is a
lot. The commissions, like, a lot of people think that so when you sell a house, so there's a house that you sold and there's a buyer and there's a seller. Well, the buyer has an agent, and I still have, it's the day after Halloween, and I have
Okay. I was wondering. Okay.
putting Frankenstein on my child's face.
Okay.
But yeah, so you have the buyer's agent, and you have the buyer has an agent, and then the seller has an agent, and they both have an agent, and so the commission is usually split equally between the buyer's agent and the
Not always equally. It's
yeah,
negotiable.
always equally, but no, it's all like we said, continue to say it's always negotiable, because by law we have to say it's always negotiable, but so that everyone understands that we don't have a set commission. It's always negotiable.
Free market. Yeah.
Usually split between the two, and that's how we get paid. So the seller is normally the seller is the one who normally pays the buyer agent. So the commission comes from the
Normally, not always.
yes, not always. We gotta keep putting that in there, because it really is true. It's always a different scenario. Sometimes the buyer will pay their own commission, especially if the house is for sale by owner, and so on. So, anyways, but I think that's a misconception that's important to talk about, because people don't understand that that's how it works. You know, I have buyers who think that they have to pay me, and
Yeah.
in
Yes.
situations you may have to, because the seller doesn't want to pay that portion of the buyer's agent's commission. And that's okay. But in majority of the cases, the commission is paid by the seller. So
Yeah. Which brings up another misconception. I had one first time home buyer, never bought a house before, a professional. Anyways, he thought that I could only show him listings from within my company. And at the time I worked for a small company. So he said, how many listings does your company have? And he just didn't understand how we cooperate with all of the brokerages within our MLS. So that's tons in Charleston. That's tons of brokerages in the MLS. And we all have access to the MLS, and we have clear cooperation laws. So we can show any of the homes on the market within the, Realtor MLS. And it's not just stuck to our company. You had another point about that too.
well, yeah, I had a customer
Oh,
who asked me what was the advantage of going with, I mean, what is it not more advantageous to go with a big company than it is to go with a smaller company because they have more listings? And I said, well, I understand your thoughts, but I can show all of their listings too, as long as they're members of the MLS.
right.
Because they're members of the MLS, I have a key to get into all of their listings all over
Right.
Alabama. I have a key to get into all the listings that are in
Yeah.
my Valley MLS. So it doesn't matter how many listings that person has, that agency has.
Right.
And the commission for one house and a different house might be it doesn't it's negotiated per person, so it doesn't go with the whole agency. So like one agency does not have a, like for example, if I'm the buyer's agent, I'm not going to choose to sell a house in my company as opposed to sell a house in another company, simply because am going to get more commission with my company, which is not the case.
Right. That doesn't happen.
They're always negotiable, so they might be different, but they're not more just because it's in your company.
A drive, right. Not a drive to stay in your company. And that client thought only the realtors in that company could show his house. So he needed the company with the most realtors so he'd get the most showings, which is not how it works at all. You're going to get more, you're going to get showings of all the realtors in the MLS.
Right. And the whether or not you have a listing or not does not necessarily mean that you're going to be the one to sell the house. I mean, it's that we have, like you said, clear cooperation laws with or ethic rules with the National Association of Realtors. So everybody in our entire, I mean, in our MLS, we have 4,000 realtors. So when I list a house, it goes out to those 4,000 people. And so it doesn't matter how many people are in my agency, because I cooperate with 4,000 people within my MLS, And not only that, but I'm also because I'm a member of my MLS, I'm also a member of the National Association of Realtors, which is what makes me a realtor and not a real estate agent.
Mhm.
Because I am a member of NAR, I also have a lot of friends across the United States that are members of NAR that I can share listings with that way too. Um, and I'm always going to these meetings and making connections with people all over the United States. So my listings are not just the 4,000 agents that are here, but it also syndicates to
National. Mhm.
thousands of different websites. So all the agents across the United States can see them as much as all the consumers can see them too.
Right, right. Which is a tool we still can handle as a small independent local brokerage. And not everybody knows that we still have those tools.
Yeah, we
But
can see what the difference between a broker and a
mhm,
realtor and a real estate agent are.
So in Charleston, you can be a real estate agent and not be a realtor. The realtor designation, it has more ethics, more school, more continuing education, and then you're held to really a higher standard, and you can be turned in and I don't know if they call it reprimanded or not, but
Yeah, I mean, it's you go to a process of, well, and here we have an ombudsman. I don't think they have that everywhere, but it's such a weird name. But so like they goes to like you make a complaint and it goes to so
yeah.
okay, so National Association of Realtors, everyone who is a realtor has to abide by the NAR's rules of ethics.
Mhm.
Have rules of ethics of how we have to treat each other as realtors. And that's wonderful because if one realtor's not being cooperative the way that they're expected to according to the rules of ethics, then we can turn them in. And when we do, it goes to an ombudsman, and that person may be another person who is under your local association. So for here, it's Huntsville Area Association of Realtors, and I'm a member of that one, and it goes to another person. So they decide whether or not this is a good case or not. And if they decide that, then they'll take it to, it really is, it's not legal court, but it's almost like court. Like
It is a lot like that. Yeah, yeah.
there's like all these people there who are hearing the case,
Mhm.
all deciding whether or not you broke the rule or not. You know?
So the point is, like, it holds you on the line. A realtor is held on the line with stronger consequences to be ethical, to be honest, to be straight forward and forthright. And a lot of it all has the public's interests as top priority. So it's not about the realtor being top priority, but about the public being top priority. And so it really pays to choose a realtor over a real estate agent.
Because we have to go to all this training in order to be a realtor, in order to decide. Because honestly, when you first get into real estate, and unless you've been inside some of these situations and scenarios, you don't really know what's okay and what's not. It takes a
Mhm.
little, almost like you're a child, and a child's trying to figure out when they tell their first lie, or they tell their first, or they go in and take something out of the store. Like they didn't really know it was wrong until they actually did it, and then it was like, no, you can't do that. And then they have this like guilt, you know. But like that's what I'm saying. Like with NAR, we have to take all these classes, and those classes teach us to think through these things, to think, oh, if that happened to me, would it be okay? Oh, I get it now. That's why.
Uh-huh. Mhm. Yeah, no, it's good.
Unless you're stuck in those situations, you never would have considered what was right and what was wrong, you know?
Right, right. Well,
Um,
and speaking of classes, we were talking about there is a difference between a realtor and a broker. Here in Charleston, you have to be a realtor in order to be a broker. So all brokers are going to be realtors. And I think for y'all too, to get my brokerage license, it's about double what it was to get my realtor license. And my continuing education is additional. Every 2 years, it's more classes and all that. And I had to have so many years experience. And then in order to set up my own company, I had to pay into the MLS program and all the other hoops to jump through and business licenses and all that. So there is a difference in a broker license and just a realtor license. Is it the same for you?
yeah, for here, there, you can get your real estate license with 60 hours of education and then your 30 hours of post license course. But then on top of that, to get your broker's license, you have to have another 60 hours. And there's another test that you have to take in order to pass to get your brokers. And And for me, the difference in the test was like when to get your real estate license, you just have to know the law. But to get your broker's license, you had to figure out how to apply it. Like they had scenarios in which you had to figure out
Mm-hmm.
is
Mm-hmm.
that break the law or does it not? Because some of these situations, you're just like, I don't know, is that breaking the law or not? I don't even know.
Well,
So
sometimes I'll turn to an attorney. I'll ask the attorney, just to make sure.
we're not attorneys. We don't know stuff like
Yeah.
that. So we're just liaisons for the common consumer.
Yeah.
But anyways, but yeah, that's the difference between here in my MLS where we if we have a real estate license, we have to be a realtor. We have to be a member of the Huntsville Area Association of Realtors, the Alabama Association of Realtors, and the National Association of Realtors. So we are all the way up. We have to be a member, which
Yeah. Ours too, city, state, national. Mhm.
which honestly I'm glad about because I don't think that I would have known how advantageous it was to be a member of all those different
Mhm.
organizations had I not been. So,
Let's see, another misconception. Well, we've kind of touched on this a little bit. Everything is negotiable. I think a lot of people come in with this idea that a real estate agent costs X amount of dollars or X amount of percent, and that's just not true. It's negotiable.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yes, and another misconception is whether or not an inspection. Like we were going on to being in the process of selling your house or buying a house, and a lot of times a buyer will get an inspection, which of course I would always recommend, even for a new home. But a common misconception is that the house either passes inspection or does not pass inspection. And honestly, for there are situations in which that does make sense. Like when a house is being built, the city comes out
Inspection department.
to the house and they inspect the house to see if and it does either pass or fail. Like they come out to inspect the electricity and each phase of the house, they come out to inspect it to make sure that they are following all of the rules of building a house. So it will pass or fail in that sense because there are rules that they have to abide by. Like an example that comes to my mind is they have to have a vent hood over the oven, and if there's not a vent hood over the oven, then it will fail inspection. So I think that's where that idea comes from. But when a buyer gets a home inspection on a home, like there are variances on how much a house will uh, be, and I mean, okay, so for example, so if there's a foundation issue with the house, there might be a small crack on the corner of the house in the brick, and the inspector might say it needs to be inspected by further with the foundation guy. Foundation guy might come out and say there's nothing wrong with it. So that's a small problem that you might see in an inspection. But then there might be the giant crack in the middle of the foundation. So it's not a pass or fail. It's really like a scale. Like some
Mhm.
have a real bad problem, some of them have a terrible problem, and really it's up to you, the buyer, whether or not you're okay with it.
And
And
a scale per each item, because even new construction will come back with several things on there that they missed or needs to be tightened or moved or the height's not right or something. So it's all going to come back, and it's not a pass or fail. It's like how many things can you live with? How many things do you need to have repaired? And there's going to be things on that home inspection.
Mhm. And you can ask the seller to fix everything if you want to. A lot of seller agents, listing agents might not like for you to list everything, but really, you as the buyer have the right to do whatever you want, and but the seller also has the right to turn everything down, unless, of course, in our
Mhm.
contract, every single agent, I mean, association has a different set of contracts. So Addie Jane has a different set of contracts than my contract. So my contract says that if it's a severe issue with the house or if it's a safety issue with the house, the seller has to fix it in order to maintain compliance with the contract. Um,
Mm.
but
It's kind of ambiguous. Severe, huh? Severe. I
yeah,
can
well, yeah,
hear a lot of agents fighting over the word severe.
yeah, or hazardous. I think it's major defect. Sorry, it's a major defect.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
I didn't say the right word. So it's
Still, I could see some arguing over that.
it is very. And I think that it's purposefully subjective because you can't just go through there and just list every single thing that could be considered a major defect in a house.
Yeah. Our contracts have three options: as is, which means, nobody's making repairs; due diligence, which means the due diligence process, you can walk away for any reason. Sometimes there's a negotiable fee with that. And then the other one's repair procedure. So the standard inspection, I don't want to say if it's standard, but repair procedure, it lists out the 5 major systems that would have to be repaired by the seller if they were not in operable condition. So they have to work. But anyways.
Yeah, there we do have a paragraph. It's called paragraph 4, that all the appliances have to work at closing.
Okay.
I mean, generally all the contracts are very close to and similar to the same.
Yeah.
But they
And
are.
we don't write contracts. We're not attorneys. And our MLS, our state attorneys wrote those contracts, and we fill them in as forms.
But we also know them and read them well. Like I
Mhm.
know my contract well, and Addie knows hers well because I just want to be able to relay that information to the person that's signing it.
Mhm.
They need to understand what it is they're signing. So, but anyways,
Yeah. Another misconception: you had a customer say that their mom gave them some advice. What was that?
yeah. So I had this buyer who told me, my mom told me that I'm not supposed to tell you anything, whether or not I like the house. And because in her mom's eyes, I was like the used car salesman. And if she told me any information that I was going to use that against her to try to
Yeah.
convince her and to manipulate it to
Here.
convince her to buy the house at a higher price and just totally mess her up. And in
Yeah.
reality, when I'm the buyer's agent, and in this situation when I'm the buyer's agent, if you don't like the house, you don't like the house. If you love the house, I'm going to do everything in my power to get the best price that you possibly can.
Yeah.
Yeah, in that, like we were talking about earlier, there's a win-win. So we try to make the seller as happy as we can, but we work for the buyer first. And we
Right.
want and we work really hard to get whatever it is they want. Like they want that John Deere that's in the garage. We're going to do everything in our power to get that John Deere in that contract and make sure it stays, 'cause, you tell me what you want and I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure it happens.
Right. Which goes on to agency. The selling agent represents the seller first, and then the buyer's agent represents the buyer first if you're in a written contract. So if you're not in a written agency agreement, then the confidentiality and everything's not necessarily straightforward. But I don't know about y'all, but for us, we have to explain that first chance. Okay, y'all too.
Recad here. What's yours called?
What did you call yours?
Recad.
I don't think ours.
Yeah. Real estate. Something disclosure. Oh, I should know that.
Ours is the agency, but we go through, what a fiduciary relationship looks like. Obedience, we do what you tell us to within the law. Loyalty, we work for you and only you, meaning we're not going to work for the seller too, unless we're in a dual agency, which by law has to be disclosed. And disclosure, so any material fact, we absolutely will tell you. Confidentiality, anything you say with us, it's confidential, even beyond the contract. Accounting, if we end up with your earnest money checked, and reasonable skill and care. So those are the ones that kind of stick in that fiduciary relationship when you're written buyer agency agreement. And in this case, I don't know if it was a customer or client for you, but she just didn't understand that you represented her.
Right. Like I'm on your side. I'm going to do whatever I can to make you happy. Like, and if you like this house, you like it. If you don't like it, you don't like it. I'm good with whatever. Let's move on to the next one. I'm not trying to sell one house over another one and trying to push my customer into doing what they don't want to do. And like you said, the disclosure is another misconception because I had someone the other day. I was in a listing presentation, and she said, "Well, we don't want to put a rug over this problem and this defect in the house because I want everyone to know because it's unethical not to tell them."
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Well, it's not just unethical; it is illegal." I told her, I was like, it's illegal. If there's something wrong with the house that's like a severe or defect, major
Mhm,
defect wrong with the house, I have to disclose that. I have to tell people.
mhm,
So if you know of something that's wrong with the house, please tell me because I need to tell. I need to make sure to put that in the MLS. And this just happened to be a crack in the tile, so it wasn't a major defect. But we still, I mean, we wanted to make sure people know. We want everyone to know what they're buying. We want everyone to understand what they're selling, and that we need to be fair and equal and make sure everybody knows. Because
mhm.
just say that we hid something from the buyer and they were to find out later, then they're up in arms before right before the closing table, and everybody's mad and everybody's in a confrontation. And why would we want to do that? That's not something we want to be involved in. So
Mhm.
if they know up front what's wrong with everything, or the little defects that's wrong with the house, then they're more likely to not be, it's more likely to be a smooth transaction, which is what all of our goal is.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. And that's all, there's this whole disclosure thing is to protect the public, just like most of our laws that we abide by. But I think the last one we have, Jenny, is about um, setting the price of the house. I think there's a common misconception that you need to price it high to leave room for negotiability.
Right. I've had a lot of sellers tell me that. Well, I want room, and I'm like, well, first of all, you don't have to sell the house at any price. So if somebody offers you something lower than the house, you don't have to take that. It's not like you have to take that. So we can counter offer and come back at the price that you listed it at. Yeah, I mean, it is best. Okay, so the way that I explain it is this. So you have these houses on the market that are overpriced. So we want to put a higher price on there to give you room. So you put a higher price than what it's worth, and your house is now being compared to other houses that are priced correctly.
Mhm,
Go in, you look at all these houses are the same price, and you look at all those houses in the same category, and the one that's overpriced looks the worst. It's the
mhm,
very rotten apple out of the whole group.
mhm,
And wow, you don't that what's going to happen? Nobody's going to make an offer, and the house that is priced right is the one that's going to get all the offers.
mhm,
So you price your house just right, and you're putting your house in a bundle of apples that are the same exact,
mhm.
price range, and your house doesn't, in comparison, does not look way worse than the other ones.
Yeah, yeah. Not
And
only that though, but you cannot get offers on your house unless you get traffic on your house. So people actually have to come see your house. Nobody's going to make an offer and not even, click on the link in Zillow. Sometimes people make offers sight unseen, but without getting the traffic to your listing and, a lot of times computing that to showings, if you're not even getting showings on your listing, you're definitely not going to get offers. And if your house is overpriced, you're not going to get those showings because somebody's going to pick, I don't know, the more square footage or the better house. At that price range instead of coming to see yours. And if you have no showings, then it all rolls like that. And then you're not going to get any offers. Your house is going to sit on the market. And when a house sits on the market, especially right now when it's a seller's market, it gets a stigma. And once it has that stigma, people are going to constantly be like, well, what's wrong with it? What's wrong with it? And then you're going to push that price lower than what it was, what it was valued at if we would have just priced it right. And sometimes pricing it just slightly under is what can drive that multiple offer situation for the right house. I mean, we can't guarantee a multiple offer situation. It's all a free market. But that's the whole thing. It's like, don't ruin your listing over trying to price it high so you get negotiability. Right now, I don't know about you, Jenny, but the houses that are priced just right, that are turnkey, really great, and then they go into multiple offer, they're getting way above that price. So if they would have priced it way above, they wouldn't have got the traffic and wouldn't have got the offers. Anyways, it all kind of works like that.
exactly. I agree
Mhm.
completely. I know that it makes people nervous to have that conversation, and I understand that. And so a lot of times what I end up doing is I end up pricing it in a way that makes them feel more comfortable than what I think it should be priced at, because they start getting nervous. But if they really, before they ever decide to sell their house, if they come to terms with that reality, the truth in that, then they'll be more likely to be able to price their house the way that it should be and get a better and higher offer than they thought was possible. So,
Right. Hey, trust your realtor. Yeah, yeah. Well, if anyone has any other questions or common misconceptions about real estate or something you think, comment below in our YouTube and we will pull that back up in a future cast.
yes, yes. Thank you. And make sure you subscribe if you like this. And we appreciate your comments and look forward to replying to them.
Yeah. You can find me on Instagram, AddieJane_broker. I'm also on Facebook and a website, kingtiderealestate.com. How can they find you, Jenny?
Jenny Shaneyfelt, Redbridge Real Estate. I'm not really sure what my
I'm in Google too.
Yeah, I think this is Jenny Shaneyfelt.
All the places. I think we both have pretty unique names, so we don't get missed too easily.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway,
thanks, Jenny.
thanks for watching. All right,
Yeah,
thank
you bet. Talk soon. Bye.